I always thought if my marriage ended, it would be with slammed doors or at least some screaming. Maybe shattered glass. Not applause. My birthday was always a quiet thing: close friends, good whiskey, a decent playlist, and my wife, Emily, at the center of it all, orchestrating the evening like the lead in some cozy indie movie. She was radiant that night, her red dress clung in all the right ways, and when she leaned in to whisper, "Happy birthday, babe," I caught the faintest trace of her favorite jasmine perfume. It tugged at something primal. Even after 10 years, she still knew how to make me feel like the only man in the room. The table was set for 10. Candles flickered, casting little golden halos over glasses of rose and half-drunk martinis. Her friends, Jenna and Claire, were already tipsy, giggling like college girls as they recounted stories from their last girls' trip. I smiled along, playing the role of the supportive husband who doesn't mind being the only man in the estrogen storm. But I noticed the looks. Jenna kept glancing at Emily, then at me, lips pursed in a way that said she knew something I didn't. Claire was quieter, nursing her third drink, her eyes lingering a second too long on my hands whenever I gestured. It was one of those nights where everything felt a little too perfect, like the kind of calm before something breaks. We had just finished the cake, chocolate ganache, my favorite, when Emily stood, glass in hand. Her smile widened, and the candles cast a soft glow against her cheekbones. "Okay," she said, tapping her glass with her ring. "I have a gift for my wonderful husband." I leaned back in my chair, curious. She had already given me a new watch that morning, sleek, minimalist, her taste, not mine, but I wore it anyway. "This one's a little unconventional," she said. There was a flicker in her eyes, nervous? Excited? I couldn't tell. And then she said it. "I think it's time we open the marriage." Silence. It hit the table like a dropped plate. No one moved. No one breathed. For a second, I thought I misheard her. But then the air shifted, and people chuckled. An awkward, hesitant ripple of claps went around the room. Even Jenna raised her glass and said, "Bold, babe." I smiled. Or at least I made my face do the thing that looked like smiling. Nodded. Took a slow sip of my drink. "Wow," I managed, keeping my tone light. "That's unexpected." Emily laughed, placing her hand on my shoulder. "Come on, you've joked about it before." "Have I?" "Sure. In the way guys say stupid things when they're watching movies, when the screen fills with bodies that are too beautiful to be real. But never like this. Not in public. Not sober." Across the table, Claire looked like she wanted to say something but held her tongue. Jenna was already on her phone, thumbs flying. Probably texting someone about the birthday bombshell. The rest of the evening carried on. People drank more. Laughed louder. I played along. But underneath my grin, my stomach twisted in knots. I watched Emily float from guest to guest, lips brushing cheeks, her laughter high and sweet. She looked free. Lighter. That night, after everyone left, we cleaned up together. Or rather, I cleaned, while she lounged on the couch, shoes kicked off, sipping the last of the champagne. "So," she asked, eyes gleaming, legs tucked under her. "So, you're serious?" She nodded. "I've been thinking about it for months. I want to explore, but with rules. Safety. Honesty. And what if I said no?" She shrugged. "Then I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't push you. I want us to grow, not suffocate." "The worst part?" She said it like she was offering me a gift. Like liberation wrapped in a red ribbon. I looked at her, really looked. Her soft skin, the way her dress slipped off one shoulder, the way her mouth still tasted like wine and birthday cake. I remembered the way she moaned my name just 3 nights ago when we fucked against the shower wall, steam rising like smoke around our bodies. But tonight, it was like I was watching her from the other side of the glass. "Okay," I said, almost whispering. Because what the hell else do you say when the woman you love hands you the match and smiles while the room catches fire? It's amazing how quickly something sacred becomes transactional. 3 days after Emily's birthday gift, I woke up to an empty bed and a note scribbled on hotel stationery left on my nightstand. "Taking the weekend to see where this freedom leads. Please don't hate me. I love you. B." Underneath the note sat the spa itinerary she'd printed last week, reservations for a mountain resort, a 3-day escape she'd originally booked for her and her girlfriends, Jenna and Claire. There was a handwritten line scrawled across it in her loopy cursive. "Sorry, cancel this for something more exciting. We'll go another time." The page crinkled slightly in my fist. More exciting. She traded lavender-scented facials and bubbly for, what? Sex with a stranger in a new zip code? An adventure she couldn't be bothered to explain? And I'd agreed to it. That word kept echoing in my head. Agreed. The silence of the house gnawed at me. No humming dishwasher. No footfalls. No teasing voice asking me where I put her favorite hoodie. Just the ghost of a life that, until last weekend, felt stable. I poured myself a cup of coffee and stared at the spa schedule again. Full itinerary. Double queen suite. Massages booked. Wine pairing dinner. It was all still reserved. A perfectly planned weekend. Wasted. Unless. Before I could talk myself out of it, I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my messages. Me. Jenna. Hey, you busy this weekend? Her response came almost immediately. Jenna. Not really. Emily canceled. Something about soul expansion and a man who hikes shirtless. Why? Me. The reservation's still good. You and Claire want to go? There was a pause. Long enough for me to wonder if I just made a mistake. Then, Jenna. Wait, you're going to? Me. Why not? No reason to waste a good weekend, right? A beat passed. Jenna. This is either the best or worst idea ever. I'm in. Claire. In the group chat Jenna immediately created. Hold up. We're going. With him? Jenna. Claire. Don't pretend you don't want to. Claire. Fine. If he's bringing wine. Friday afternoon, I pulled up to the mountain resort in my black SUV, wheels crunching over gravel. The air smelled like pine needles and distance, clean, cool, untouched by what waited back in the city. I checked in and waited in the lodge, letting the fire's warmth thaw some of the frost growing inside me. They arrived a few hours later, tumbling out of Claire's convertible like some scene out of a rom-com, windblown, laughing, sunglasses oversized and egos barely smaller. Jenna wore yoga pants and a cropped hoodie that didn't quite cover the curve of her hips. Claire was dressed in wine-colored leggings and a low-cut tank top that clung to her like a dare. You weren't kidding, Claire said as she approached. This place is nice. Emily really downgraded if she gave this up for a sweaty Airbnb and a man who hikes shirtless. Jenna grinned. We come bearing Prosecco and bad decisions. I helped them with their bags, brushing hands unintentionally on purpose, the kind of touches you don't overthink but don't forget either. We settled into the suite, 2 beds, open floor plan, and a balcony view that stretched for miles. It smelled of cedar and fresh linens. That night, we hit the spa. Steam rooms first. The heat made everything slow and sticky. Jenna sat close, closer than needed. Her thigh grazed mine as she leaned back. Eyes closed, a sly smile tugging at her lips. Emily never deserved you, you know, Claire said, voice low, soft from wine and warmth. Careful, I murmured. You're talking about your best friend. Ex-best friend, Jenna corrected. At least for the weekend. There was something about that moment, the 3 of us surrounded by rising steam, the scent of eucalyptus thick in the air, skin glistening, boundaries melting, that felt charged. Like some invisible thread had been pulled too tight and was about to snap. And it did. Later, back in the room, after too many glasses of champagne, Jenna sat on the edge of my bed, legs crossed, top unzipped just enough to blur the line between suggestion and invitation. Claire stood by the balcony, hair tumbling over one shoulder as she scrolled through a playlist. I always thought you were sexy, Jenna said, swirling her wine. Even when you were just Emily's guy. Claire didn't look up. We both did. The room stilled. The air shifted. No one made the first move, not consciously, but somehow we were touching. Soft laughter turned into fingertips. Fingertips turned into lips brushing against my neck, my jaw, my mouth. The tension unraveled like a dress sliding off a shoulder. No one said stop. We didn't cross the line. Not fully. But we walked right up to it, smiled at it, dared it to move. I took a few selfies with them, nothing explicit. Just hazy, wine-warm photos of 3 people tangled in candlelight. A toast. A laugh. A moment where I looked happier than I had in months. I didn't post them. Not yet. But I knew Emily would see them eventually. And I wanted her to. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Claire humming. She was wrapped in a towel, barefoot on the hardwood floor, sipping from a mug she'd stolen from the lobby cafe. Her hair was still damp, clinging to her neck in those careless waves that always looked better on someone else's pillow. Morning, birthday boy, she said, voice husky from sleep or too much wine. It's not my birthday anymore, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. Jenna sat cross-legged on the bed beside me, still in her sleep shirt, thin cotton, practically translucent in the early light. One strap had fallen down her shoulder, and she made no effort to fix it. Her eyes flicked down to my bare chest, then slowly back up to meet mine. Well, she said, smirking. Then I guess we can stop pretending to behave. There was a moment, just a beat, where I let the weight of that sentence hang. The morning light painted golden lines across the room, slicing through us like a spotlight. Everything felt suspended. Time, morals, loyalty. I stood up, stretched, and walked to the balcony door. The air outside was crisp, pine-scented, electric. Somewhere in the valley, birds sang a melody completely unaware of the quiet chaos simmering in our suite. Jenna came up behind me, brushing past so close I felt the heat of her breath against my shoulder. "You're a lot quieter than I expected," she said, handing me a coffee. "Most guys would be bragging right now." I took a sip. Most guys haven't had their wife gift wrap her infidelity and call it empowerment. Claire walked over, still in that towel, still humming. "You know," she said, leaning on the balcony railing, "I used to think Emily had it all figured out. The perfect house, perfect husband, perfect body. But the longer I watched her, the more I realized she never knew what to do with it." "With what?" I asked. Claire tilted her head, her eyes tracing mine like she was deciding whether to go all in. "With you." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The air between us was thick again, heavy with things unsaid and things we were seconds from doing. We spent the afternoon at the spa. Facials, steam rooms, massages. Our bodies draped in white robes, floating from treatment to treatment like we were untethered from the rest of the world. In the sauna, things heated faster than I expected, literally and otherwise. The three of us sat shoulder to shoulder on the cedar bench, sweat beading down our skin. Jenna fanned herself with a folded towel. "I forgot how good this kind of sweat feels," she said, her hand brushing mine, casual but deliberate. Not gym sweat. Not, "I'm running late" sweat. Just indulgent. Claire chuckled, running a finger along her collarbone to catch a drip of sweat before it fell. "This place is turning me into a hedonist." I laughed, but I felt it too. That pull. That hum. The steam blurred the room, like we were ghosts in someone else's fantasy. When we got back to the suite, the champagne came out. Again. We sat on the bed, one bottle already gone, a second one sweating in the ice bucket. Jenna leaned into me, her leg over mine, her voice low and sultry. Claire sat on the other side, her hand resting innocently on my thigh. The air was thick with heat and suggestions. "Can I ask you something?" Jenna murmured. "Shoot." If she hadn't said anything about the open marriage, would you have wanted this? I looked between the two of them. Their faces. Their bodies. The way they looked at me like I wasn't just Emily's husband anymore. "I don't know," I said truthfully. "But now that I'm here, I'm not pretending I regret it." They moved in closer. It was all fingertips and feather-like kisses at first. Tension stretching taut across skin. Hands found places they shouldn't. Lips grazed necks. Breath hitched. I couldn't tell where one of them ended and the other began. And then we stopped. Just enough. Clothes still on, but barely. Kisses tasted like secrets. Fingers left trails like promises. Jenna whispered against my ear, "Don't worry. We're not the ones breaking vows. We're just living in the space your wife left empty." I didn't sleep much that night, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. I watched Claire curl beside me, her lips parted, breathing slow. Jenna was sprawled at the foot of the bed like a satisfied cat. I wondered what Emily would say if she saw us now. No. I knew exactly what she'd say. She'd smile that tight, condescending smile. She'd call it retaliation. Immaturity. Proof that men couldn't handle emotional complexity. But I wasn't retaliating. I was exploring. Just like she wanted. In the morning, I posted one photo to my story. Just a boomerang, Claire clinking her glass against mine in the hot tub. No faces. No context. Just steam, bubbles, and two champagne flutes glinting in the afternoon sun. I watched the view count rise. I didn't tag anyone. But I knew who would see it. And I knew what it would do. She came home with a glow. You know the kind, post-orgasmic, sun-drenched, freshly fucked by someone who wasn't me. She walked through the front door like she was floating, suitcase trailing behind her, sunglasses perched in her hair, and a new shade of lipstick I'd never seen before. Something red. Bold. Not Emily. "Oh," she said, seeing me in the kitchen. "You're home early." "Nope," I replied, sipping my coffee. "You're just late." She smiled. God, that smile. That rehearsed, radiant, pageant grin. I used to think it meant love. Now it looked like a mask she'd forgotten to take off. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed, studying her. "So, how was your weekend of exploration?" Emily dropped her keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, the one we bought on a trip to Charleston, back when we still held hands just to do it. It was refreshing, she said, stretching like a cat, rolling her shoulders. He was adventurous. She said it like she was offering a compliment, like she expected me to be proud. My jaw ticked. Glad to hear it. She walked toward me, fingers grazing the edge of the counter as she passed. I hope you used your time well too. I want this to feel balanced, you know? Balanced. As if she was managing an open marriage like a bank ledger. You don't want to know how I spent it? I asked. Emily arched a brow, playful. Should I? I tilted my head, watching her closely. Only if you think your best friends would keep a secret. That stopped her. Her smile faltered, just a flicker. But I caught it. That tiny shift. A crack in the performance. What does that mean? She asked, voice careful now. I took a slow sip from my mug. Just that it's a small world. And not everyone's good at keeping things compartmentalized. She turned away then, too quickly, fumbled with her bag, pretending to dig out her phone. I should check in with Claire. She was feeling under the weather when I left. Oh, I said. She's feeling much better now. Emily froze. I swear I could hear the machinery in her head grinding, trying to fit puzzle pieces that didn't make sense, trying to trace back steps she hadn't taken. And then, her voice, lighter than it had any right to be. Wait, did you see them? Define see. She turned back around, eyes narrowing slightly. You're being weird. I shrugged. You're the one who walked in here smelling like someone else's sweat and coconut oil, talking about adventure. Emily crossed her arms. Her defensive posture was familiar now. It used to mean we were about to fight over dishes or bills or who forgot the trash. Now it meant war. I gave you the freedom you always wanted, she said. Don't pretend I blindsided you. You didn't blindside me, Emily, I said, calm, almost bored. You gave me a gift, remember? I just unwrapped it. The silence was beautiful. It stretched between us like silk, soft, dangerous, suffocating. Then her phone vibrated on the counter. A message. She didn't reach for it. I didn't look away. The phone buzzed again. The screen lit up. Jenna's name. Emily's hand hovered, but she didn't touch it. She knew better. You saw them, she said, her voice quieter now. No, I said. They saw me. She blinked. You didn't. I stepped closer, just enough to make her lean back. I didn't have to, I said. They offered. Her face went pale. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just deflated, like someone had pricked the balloon she'd spent the weekend inflating. You're lying. Try calling them, I said, backing away. Ask them how the wine was, or the view from the hot tub, or that toast Claire made about how you never really appreciated what you had. That one was my favorite. Emily grabbed her phone, fingers shaking. I could see it, the panic spreading under her skin. Her thumbs tapped the screen. Once. Twice. No answer. Again. Still nothing. Group chats don't feel so safe when you're not in them anymore. They wouldn't, she whispered. But she didn't believe it. She tried Claire first. No answer. Then Jenna. Straight to voicemail. Her shoulders started to shake. Not from tears, but from the weight of realizing the ground was shifting under her feet. You're trying to ruin me, she said. No, I said. You just did a damn fine job of that on your own. I'm just letting gravity do its thing. She looked around like she was suddenly waking up in a different house. Same walls. Same kitchen. But the warmth was gone. The life had been drained from the place she thought she still controlled. And now she was alone. Her little experiment in freedom had become a case study in self-destruction. I gave you everything, she said, her voice barely more than breath. I nodded. And I used it well. Emily didn't sleep that night. I know because I watched her try, curling up on the far edge of the bed like distance would save her. Her phone glowed every few minutes, the screen lighting her face in fractured color. No replies. No new messages from Claire or Jenna. Just silence. The kind you hear before an avalanche. I, on the other hand, slept like a baby. The next morning, I woke up to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at her phone, thumb hovering but not touching. She looked hungover, not from alcohol, but from humiliation. She was still in that same outfit from the night before, makeup smudged, lips bitten raw, hair pulled into a loose knot that was coming undone strand by strand. She didn't say good morning. Just, are you going to tell anyone else? I shrugged. No need. Seems like the story's already writing itself. And it was. The first domino fell around noon. Claire posted a boomerang video to her Instagram story. Her and I in the hot tub, clinking glasses. Just a half-second loop of bubbles and skin and laughter. No faces, just vibes. But the caption was what mattered. Room service for 3 bottle with popping cork sparkles hashtag leftover weekend. Not tagged, not geotagged. No names. Just suggestion. But suggestion was all it took. By 12:06, 2 of Emily's yoga friends had reacted with wide-eyed emojis. By 12:10, her cousin had messaged her asking, "Wait, isn't that your spa trip?" And by 12:30, Jenna posted her own little masterpiece. A photo of a breakfast tray, 3 sets of silverware, 3 coffee mugs, 3 partially eaten croissants. No faces again. Just the aftermath of something intimate. Caption: nothing like a little indulgence to make you feel whole again. The comments section ignited within minutes. Emily's college friend wrote, "That's not Emily's room, is it?" A former coworker. "Wait, wasn't this her anniversary gift to herself?" And then, "Looks like someone got the better end of the deal, eyes." I didn't post anything, not then. I didn't need to. But I watched. Watched as the likes rolled in. Watched the story get reshared by one of Claire's influencer friends, who had 80,000 followers and a hunger for drama. Watched as Emily's social circle, once curated and tight, began to quietly fracture. No one tagged her. No one even said her name. That's what made it worse. She wasn't the villain of the story. She wasn't even the main character. She was just omitted. Around 3 p.m., Emily slammed her laptop shut and hissed, "You're enjoying this." I didn't deny it. "I didn't ask them to do this," she snapped. "They're making it worse." "Claire and Jenna?" I asked. "Funny, they said the same about you." She stared at me, jaw tight. "You're punishing me." I stood, moving toward her slowly, deliberately, the way you approach something broken that you're not sure you want to fix. "No," I said. "I'm just showing you what freedom actually looks like. You called it a gift. I just regifted it." She laughed, dry and sharp. "You think this makes you look strong?" I looked her in the eyes, let the silence hang before answering. "No, it makes me look honest." She turned away, arms folded tightly over her chest. She was unraveling, piece by piece. Not just because of what happened, but because she wasn't in control of the narrative anymore. For someone like Emily, that was worse than guilt, worse than regret. It was irrelevance. Later that night, I posted a single photo to my own story. Nothing scandalous, just the 3 champagne flutes from the spa's hot tub, the rim of the tub in the background, fog rolling off the surface like something from a dream. No caption, no tags, just the picture. Within 10 minutes, I got a DM from a mutual friend. "Damn, heard things were rocky, but I didn't realize it was this kind of rocky." I didn't respond. Another message came through. This one from someone I barely remembered, a friend of a friend from our wedding guest list. "I always thought Emily was punching above her weight with you. Looks like she fumbled the bag." And then, "You single?" I didn't answer that one either. Emily saw it, though. Her face when she realized I'd joined the chorus, quietly, subtly, elegantly, was one I'll never forget. Not anger, not even heartbreak. Just the haunted look of someone realizing the doors she thought she could close behind her had been flung wide open. And everyone was watching. Emily was still pretending it was all fine. That was her specialty, grace under pressure. The kind of woman who could host a dinner party while on the verge of a breakdown and still pair the wine correctly. But the cracks were showing. She sat at the kitchen island that morning, laptop open, pretending to work. But every few minutes, I'd catch her glancing at her phone, then quickly flipping it face down like it had betrayed her. Again, I said nothing. I didn't have to. The silence between us had texture now, thick, cold, like wet wool. And underneath it, I could feel her unraveling one thread at a time. "You know," she said, finally, eyes still on her screen, "you made your point." I didn't look up. Did I? "You've embarrassed me. Made me look like a joke." "No," I said. "You did that the moment you raised your glass and said your husband's birthday present was permission to sleep around." She pushed her chair back with a scrape and stood up. "You think people don't know what you're doing? I'm counting on it." That shut her up. She left the house in a blazer and heels that afternoon. Hair done, makeup tight, a version of herself she wore like armor. I knew where she was going before she told me. Claire's place. A truce meeting. Or at least an attempt at one. She was gone for 2 hours. When she came back, she didn't speak. Just moved past me, stiff and robotic, walked straight upstairs, and slammed the bedroom door. 5 minutes later, I heard the sound of her fist hitting the mattress. Once. Twice. I waited. She came back down in sweatpants and no makeup, her eyes red, her mouth a thin, bitter line. She won't talk to me, Emily said. Claire. She nodded. Won't even open the door. Said I crossed a line I can't uncross. I took a sip of my beer, turned a page of the magazine I wasn't reading. Seems fair. I didn't think she'd actually cut me off, Emily whispered, half to herself. We've been friends since college. Maybe you should have considered that before you made her watch you justify cheating like it was a TED Talk. She flinched. Just slightly. But I saw it. She said I used her, Emily went on. Said I treated her like background noise in my relationship drama. Like I expected her to just support me because she always had. I tilted my head. Did you? Her silence was answer enough. Then came the kicker. Her voice dropped, barely audible. Jenna blocked me. I didn't hide my smirk. Oof. That's the digital version of a divorce these days. Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. They're talking, you know, she said. Without me. Like I'm the common ex. I stood up, leaned on the counter, arms crossed. Well, you did kind of date all of us, in your own twisted way. She laughed, short, bitter. This was supposed to make us stronger. Me and you. I walked past her, pausing just long enough to let my words land. You gave me the gift of freedom, Emily. You just forgot to ask yourself what I might do with it. That night, she posted a photo on her story, a throwback, clearly. Us on a beach. Her leaning into me, sunglasses pushed up in her hair, lips on my cheek. Captioned, some people forget where home is. Subtle, manipulative, pure Emily. But no one replied. Not even a pity like. The next morning, I checked and saw it had been deleted. By the end of the week, she was different. Quieter. Smaller. She still left the house. Still kept up the front. But the confident strut was gone. The texts came in less. The invites dried up. Her phone, once an extension of her ego, became a mirror she didn't want to look into. One afternoon, I caught her scrolling through old group photos on her phone. Her and Claire at Coachella, Jenna holding her hair back at that Vegas bachelorette trip, me grinning in the background like a man who still believed her stories. You know what the worst part is? She asked, not looking up. What? They didn't even pick each other over me. They picked you. I sat beside her, close enough to share space. Not warmth. They picked truth, I said. You just forgot how rare that is. She looked at me, and for the first time in days, she didn't seem angry. Just tired. Like someone who finally saw the wreckage in daylight. I left her like that. Sitting on the couch, wrapped in her hoodie, surrounded by the ghosts of a social circle that no longer existed. She'd built her life on admiration. Applause. Carefully curated friendships, and curated photos, and curated love. But now she was public without allies. And private without peace. The invite came like they always did. Bright, branded, perfectly curated. Nicole's annual birthday party. Black and gold theme this year. Rooftop bar. Open bar. No kids. No exes. No drama. Except Emily was going. Of course she was. Nicole was part of her inner ring. One of the few she hadn't lost, yet. The two of them used to call these parties social resets, their way of cleansing gossip, nursing egos, and quietly re-establishing who was on top of the hierarchy. It had always been Emily. Until now. She stood in front of the mirror for an hour, trying on outfit after outfit. Her vanity counter littered with lipsticks and rejected eyeshadow palettes. I watched her from the doorway, arms crossed, sipping scotch like I was watching the final act of a play I'd seen one too many times. She finally settled on black silk. Tight, low in the back, strategic slit up the thigh. Sexy, but desperate. Too much, she asked, half turned toward me. I let my eyes travel the length of her body, slowly. Not with lust. With assessment. Looks like you're trying to remind people who you used to be. Her jaw flexed. But she didn't argue. She knew I was right. She left without saying goodbye. The party was downtown. Rooftop. Glittering skyline. Enough gold decorations to blind a god. She arrived solo. Which was a problem. Emily never arrived anywhere alone. That was part of her brand. Arm in arm with friends, husband, someone who confirmed she was the center of something. But tonight, she stepped off that elevator alone. Heels clicking, hair perfect, lipstick sharp, and no one came to meet her. The room had already split. Claire stood at the bar, laughing with Nicole and two other women Emily used to brunch with every Sunday. Jenna was across the rooftop, sipping from a coupe glass, deep in conversation with someone who'd once called Emily her soul sister. No one waved. No one smiled. A few caught her eye, then quickly looked away. She walked past one group and heard it, the sudden shift in tone, that slight hush when someone walks up and they're the topic. The scent of cold curiosity, of polite venom. She pasted on her best smile and made her way to Nicole. "Happy birthday, gorgeous," Emily said, kissing her cheek like nothing had changed. Nicole's smile was polite. Warm, even. But it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, Em," she said. "Didn't think I'd see you tonight." Emily blinked. "Why wouldn't I be here?" Nicole gave the kind of shrug that said everything and nothing at once. "Things feel tense. I figured you might want to lay low." Emily laughed, just a little too loudly. "Please. I'm not hiding. This isn't high school." But it was. Just with better wine and higher stakes. She made her rounds. Tried to inject herself into conversations. But they fizzled fast. Eyes glanced past her. Responses came short. Everyone smiled, but no one leaned in. By the end of her second drink, she stood by herself near the balcony railing, scrolling her phone like it might anchor her. She opened Jenna's profile. Still blocked. Then Claire's. New post. A selfie from the party. Her, Jenna, Nicole, all glowing. No Emily. Caption. Queens only. Emily stared at the screen for a long time, then quietly slid the phone back into her clutch. Someone brushed past her intentionally, like she was furniture. "No, excuse me. No apology." She turned to look and caught a glimpse of me. I hadn't told her I was coming. Nicole had invited me personally. "Just swing by," she said, voice sly. Emily's not the only one people are curious about. I showed up late. No tux. No need to impress. And when I stepped onto that rooftop, I didn't walk alone. Claire was beside me. In red. Not holding my hand, but close enough that it didn't matter. Emily locked eyes with me across the crowd. I saw the panic behind her poise. The silent calculation. The desperate question. How far has he gone? I tilted my head. Raised my glass. Smiled. Claire leaned in to whisper something in my ear. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I knew Emily would hear it and assume the worst. I didn't need to confirm anything. Suspicion was better than truth. By the end of the night, Emily was gone. No goodbyes. No drama. Just a quiet exit through the same elevator she arrived in. Alone. When she got home, she didn't speak. She poured herself a glass of wine, sat on the couch, kicked off her heels, and stared at nothing. Her dress was wrinkled now. One strap had slipped down her shoulder, and she didn't bother to fix it. She finally broke the silence. "They all chose you." I nodded. "No. They chose who you stopped being." Her eyes shimmered, but she wouldn't let them fall. Still holding onto the last thread of dignity. "You win," she whispered. "This wasn't a game," I said. "But thanks for playing." It started with a text. "Jenna. Hey. You awake?" I stared at the message for a few seconds, thumb hovering. Emily was upstairs, the light in our bedroom still on. I could hear her pacing, her new nightly ritual. Like maybe if she kept moving, everything would go back to the way it was. But it wouldn't. I tapped a reply. "Me. Yeah. What's up?" "Jenna. I've been thinking. About everything. Can I call?" I didn't respond. Just watched the dots flash, disappear, flash again. "Jenna. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, but I'm not sorry it did." And then the call came. I stepped out onto the patio, the night cool and still. The silence between us on the line felt heavier than words. "You okay?" I asked finally. Jenna's voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "I've been better. Claire and I talked tonight. About me. About all of it. Emily. The weekend. You. Us. Us." That word lingered in the space between us like static. "I want to say something," she went on. "And I need you to hear it." I waited. "I think," she said slowly, "I always resented her. Emily. For the way she treated you. The way she talked about you when you weren't around. Like you were this accessory she could take off when it clashed with her mood." My chest tightened. "I used to wonder," she said, "what it would be like to be loved by someone who actually listened. Who didn't need to be the loudest person in the room." "Jenna. I'm not trying to make this a confession," she said quickly. "I just needed to say it. Because after that weekend, I realized I hadn't just crossed a line. I'd stepped into a space I'd always secretly wanted to be in." There was a pause. A silence I didn't fill. She breathed out. "Do you hate me for it?" "No," I said. "I think I just hate that it took Emily's collapse for us to have this conversation." Jenna laughed softly. Sad. Honest. Claire said the same thing. Claire. I repeated. She's not as put together as she looks, Jenna said. She's been crying every night. Guilt, mostly, but also regret. She said Emily used her, made her feel like she was only relevant as long as she was supporting someone else's drama. She wasn't wrong, I said. No, she wasn't. There was another long silence. Then Jenna asked the question that cracked the quiet wide open. Are you free next weekend? I leaned against the patio railing, staring out at the dim lights of the neighbor's house. My heart didn't jump. It didn't race. It just settled. What are you asking me? She hesitated. Claire and I were thinking of driving up to the vineyard. You know, the one north of the city? Just to get away. Reset. Breathe. But only if it's something you'd want to. Emily's going to lose her mind, I said quietly. She already has. We stayed on the phone a while longer. No plans. No promises. Just honesty. For once. When we hung up, I stood in the quiet for a few more minutes. The stars were bright that night. Clear. Uncomplicated. Then came the sound of the sliding door behind me. Emily. She stood barefoot, arms crossed over the hoodie she wore like armor now. Her hair was messy. Her eyes dull. You were on the phone, she said. I didn't reply. With her. Still nothing. She nodded slowly, jaw tight. She texted me. And she said she was sorry. That she never meant to hurt me. She looked away. Funny how none of you meant to hurt me, and yet. You started this, I said. You stood in front of a room full of people and announced our marriage was now open. You lit the match, Emily. We just stopped putting out the fire for you. She stepped closer. Not pleading. Not angry. Just exhausted. We could go back, she whispered. Pretend this never happened. Close the door again. Work on it. I'd even delete the app. Change my number. Anything. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I pulled out my phone. Scrolled to a photo I'd taken earlier that week but hadn't shared yet. Me and Claire at the vineyard. A quiet moment. The sun setting behind us. Her head on my shoulder. Our faces calm. Not happy. Not sad. Just okay. I held up the screen and turned it toward her. Emily stared. Said nothing. The look on her face wasn't anger. Or jealousy. It was finality. The realization that the door she cracked open could never be closed again. I didn't say anything as I walked past her, back into the house. Some gifts, once given, don't get returned. It came on a Tuesday. Gray sky. Light rain. The kind of day that makes everything feel slower, heavier. Her message wasn't short. Not rushed. Not typed in anger. It read like it had been drafted and rewritten a dozen times. I imagine she stared at the blinking cursor for hours before she hit send. Emily. I've been thinking. A lot. About what we were. What we broke. What we could still be. I know things got out of hand. That I got carried away trying to chase some version of myself I thought I lost. I know I hurt you. But I was hurting too. I just didn't know how to say it. You were always there, solid, consistent, real, and I didn't appreciate it. I thought I wanted adventure, and maybe I did, but I didn't realize the cost. I miss you. The version of you that used to sneak up behind me while I was brushing my teeth. The way you'd kiss my shoulder and hum some stupid song. The version of us that didn't need anyone else in the room. Maybe we can fix this. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe you still love me. If there's anything left, please tell me. Please don't just disappear. Emily. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't feel anything anymore. Not rage. Not grief. Just distance. The kind you can't measure in miles. The kind made of months of silence, sleepless nights, group chats gone quiet, and the sound of her voice saying, I want to open the marriage, like she was offering me a new car instead of a cracked heart. There was a time I would have read that message 10 times. Would have typed and deleted my response 20 more. Would have paced the kitchen. Called a friend. Searched for signs of sincerity between the lines. No? I just saved the image I already had queued up. It was from the weekend. Claire and I at the vineyard. The wind had caught her hair just right, whipping it across her cheek as she laughed, sun behind her, the color of the grapes behind us deep and rich like late summer. I had my arm around her waist, and for once, I wasn't performing for a camera. I was just there. No caption. No explanation. Just a picture. I hit send. Delivered. The 3 dots didn't appear. No reply came. But I saw the read notification a minute later. And that was enough. Claire came over that night. No dramatics. No declarations. Just a knock on the door, a bottle of wine, and a half-smile. Was that the one you were saving? She asked, nodding to the bottle. Yeah, I said. I figured we've earned it. She kicked off her boots and curled up on the couch beside me, close but not demanding. We didn't talk about Emily, or Jenna, or anything heavy. We just sat, sipped, let the silence be warm instead of sharp for once. Later, she rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. "I think I am." That night, as I lay in bed, Claire asleep beside me, breathing soft and steady, I checked my phone one last time. Emily had taken down her Instagram profile picture. Her last post was gone. The woman who once lived online like it was oxygen had vanished into digital fog. I wasn't angry. I didn't gloat. I just turned off my phone, pulled the blanket up to my chest, and let myself drift into sleep, unburdened. Because this was the end of the story she started. In the beginning of the one I finally got to write for myself. The sky was the color of honey-dipped embers. Claire and I sat on the back patio, a chilled bottle of wine between us, 2 half-full glasses in our hands. She was barefoot, legs curled up beneath her in the outdoor love seat, her hair thrown into a loose bun that kept falling apart the way I secretly liked. She wore no makeup, just freckles and that kind of unguarded calm that people only carry when they've finally stopped pretending. The sun dipped lower behind the trees, bleeding gold into the leaves, the fence, her skin. "You always sit like that when you're thinking," she said, smiling behind the rim of her glass. "Like what?" She leaned over, gently nudging my shoulder. Elbow on the chair, hand at your chin, brows all scrunched up like you're solving a mystery. I chuckled. "I guess I'm still trying to understand how we got here." Claire looked out over the yard, the breeze shifting the hem of her sundress. "It doesn't matter how. It just matters that we're here." She was right. It had been 3 weeks since Emily's last message. 2 since Jenna came by to say goodbye, not because anything was broken between us, but because she finally understood that some stories weren't meant to keep stretching. We shared a hug at the door that lingered, warm and understanding. Then she was gone. Emily had stayed quiet since the photo. No calls. No texts. Not even mutual friends trying to float her name in casual conversation. She was still out there. Still posting stories, just not where I could see them. I didn't need to. I already knew the arc. She'd curate something new, dress it in the language of healing and finding herself, and she'd be back in people's feeds before fall. But not mine. I'd stopped watching that screen. Because the one in front of me, the one that held Claire in this sunset and the soft hum of a world that wasn't spinning off its axis anymore, that was enough. "You think she regrets it?" Claire asked, her voice careful. I didn't have to ask who she meant. I swirled the wine in my glass, the liquid catching the light. "Not in the way that matters." Claire looked at me. "She regrets losing," I said. "Not what she gave up. Just that someone else picked up the pieces and turned them into something better." Claire nodded, quiet for a while. "Then, do you?" "Do I what?" "Regret how any of it happened." I thought about that for a long moment. Then I shook my head. "No, because I got something real out of it." She reached across and slid her fingers into mine. No tension, no expectation, just touch. We sat like that, letting the last of the light fade into indigo. This was my new normal. Not the thrill of revenge. Not the chaos of exposed secrets. Just peace. A woman beside me who didn't need to be the center of attention because she already knew her worth. A life that didn't need to be proven to anyone else to feel whole. A quiet house that finally felt like home again. Somewhere out in the ether, Emily was probably telling her story, too, framing it with metaphors about growth, polyamory, maybe even villainizing me a little. That was fine. She could keep her podcast, her hashtags, her curated pain. I didn't need to correct her version of things. I was living mine, and it tasted like strawberries and dry rose and the soft exhale of a woman falling asleep against my chest while the rest of the world kept spinning. The gift she gave me wasn't freedom. It was clarity, and I used it well.